We all love food, but what if I told you that eating too much could silently destroy your health, and that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave us the cure 1400 years ago? Today, obesity is one of the fastest rising health problems in the world, leading to heart disease, diabetes, and even stroke. And yet, the solution was already given to us centuries ago in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a simple way of eating less, living more mindfully, and protecting our bodies. In this video, we're going to dive deep into that prophetic advice, and we'll also see what modern science has to say. Just to name off some statistics that we have for obesity, in 2022, 1 in 8 people in the world were living with obesity, which comes to 12.5% of people in the world. Along with that, we have in 2022, 2.5 billion adults, 18 and older, were overweight, and of these, 890 million were living with obesity. Worldwide adult obesity has more than doubled since 1990, and adolescent obesity has quadrupled. And here's a chart from World Obesity Federation. And in this chart, you can see a list of countries that show the percentage of the population being obese, which is a BMI of greater than or equal to 30. And in this chart, it's combined both males and females. And in the chart, you can also see it's more likely to be countries of higher income or upper middle income. It's very interesting to see that the top countries, or more popular countries that we know of being wealthy, such as the Bahamas, United States, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, are on the top of this list, or towards the top of the list. And if we go towards the bottom of the list to see which countries actually have lower population of people being obese, it tends to be countries of lower income. To make a note of this chart, we can see that 2 countries that are of high income, being on the lower end of the list, are both Japan and South Korea. To further show the prevalence of obesity in the world, a 2023 report from the World Obesity Atlas predicts that more than half of the global population will have obesity by 2035. And the United States ranks near the top for highest prevalence of obesity. In Surah Al-Araf, chapter 7, verse 31,
يا بني آدم خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد وكلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين.
The translation of this ayah is, O children of Adam, dress properly whenever you are at worship, eat and drink, but do not waste. Surely he does not like the wasteful. In the tafsir from Ibn Kathir, it is mentioned from Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with them, who said, eat what you wish and wear what you wish, as long as you avoid 2 things, extravagance and arrogance. And then there's another comment that's made, certainly he, Allah, likes not the wasteful. Allah the Exalted says that he does not like those who trespass the limits on an allowed matter or a prohibited matter. Those who go to the extreme over what he has allowed, allow what he has prohibited, or prohibit what he has allowed, but he likes that what he has allowed to be considered as such without extravagance, and what he has prohibited to be considered as such. In this hadith, Miqdam bin Madi Karib, may God be pleased with him, said, I heard the Prophet of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, say, a human being fills no worse vessel than his stomach. It is sufficient for a human being to eat a few mouthfuls to keep his spine straight. But if he must fill it, then 1/3 of food, 1/3 for drink, and 1/3 for air. When it comes to food, we are not just using food as a way to nourish our bodies, but going into extremes in where we are overindulging to the point we are causing sickness to our bodies. Now let's go back to, what is obesity? So obesity is a chronic complex disease defined by basically having excessive fat deposits, whether it's in the abdomen or other tissues in the body, that can impair health. Obesity can also lead to increased risk for someone having type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and also affects the bone health, reproduction health, and increased risk for cancers as well. Diagnosis for obesity is typically done through calculating someone's BMI. Now, BMI is not always the most accurate as if someone has increased muscle mass through exercise and working out, they'll tend to have a higher BMI than an average person because of the increase in muscle mass. But still, BMI is a good indication of someone being either overweight and especially obese in that case. With this, for an adult at least, an overweight BMI tends to be greater than or equal to 25. And for someone being obese, it's a BMI greater than or equal to 30. And for someone to have a BMI over 40, it's considered morbidly obese. One of the causes of obesity is a result from an imbalance of energy intake, which is from diet, overeating and calories, and energy expenditure, physical activity, basically burning off calories. This goes back to calories in versus calories out. If someone takes in more calories than they're burning, they're going to put on more weight or more fat tissue, or just tissue in general. And if someone burns more calories than they intake, then they're going to lose weight or typically lose fat. Another cause is having an obesogenic environment, which means basically that there's an environment, which we can say like in America, where the whole environment tends to for obesity, meaning like think about advertising for fast food, the types of foods we have available to us being high calorie, sugar, all these things that tend to lead to obesity because of the high amount of energy inside these foods. And also with advertising from these different fast food companies and just food companies in general, where they're trying to make the food as tasty as possible but not as healthy as they can. And with this, it ends up being an environment that's obesogenic. Another is psychosocial factors. So if someone tends to be in a family where they have obese people or overweight people too, then typically other family members will be in the same situation, either being obese or overweight. And in this other study, we can see that it says overweight and obesity can develop over time when you consume more calories than you use. This is also described as an energy imbalance, when your energy in, calories in, does not equal your energy out or calories out. And so we have to think about this, that it goes back to calories in versus calories out. And we'll go into why this is very important. It also states in here that an energy imbalance causes your body to store more fat than can be used now or in the future, but your risk of developing overweight or obesity is determined by more than how much you eat. It also includes the types and amounts of food and drinks you consume each day, and your level of physical activity, whether if you're an office person that sits at a desk or if you're a person that's up on their feet all day like a teacher or a nurse, and how much good quality sleep you're getting each night. Some other causes are basically food industry practices, marketing, social and cultural norms. So if there's a kind of cultural kind of diet that people have that is not very healthy, and that person's from a certain culture like that, then it ends up causing them to lead into more of obesity and overweight. And the last one is lack of physical activity, which is combined with usually high amounts of TV usage, computer usage, video game usage, or other screen time that has been associated with a high BMI. Now for some of the consequences of obesity. In 2021, it was found that higher than optimal BMI, someone being overweight or obese, caused an estimated 3.7 million deaths from non-communicable diseases. These are diseases that are not spread through such as influenza, COVID, stuff like this that can be spread from person to person or stuff like animal to person. And so these are diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancers, neurological disorders can be like stroke, chronic respiratory diseases, and digestive disorders. If someone is obese or overweight during their childhood or adolescence, they have associated risk of either earlier onset of these non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. There's also psychological consequences for children, like it starts to affect their school performance, quality of life, compounded by stigma, being obese, discrimination, and even bullying. Children who are obese tend to be very likely to be adults that are obese, and again it comes with all of these other consequences and these risk factors for other diseases that we talked about. Some ways of limiting or preventing obesity is going to be through limiting consumption like highly sugary foods such as sodas, candy bars, just things that are very unhealthy and known to be as junk food. Eating a healthy diet, which can be a whole grain, heart healthy diet, low salt intake. Physical activity can also help with that through exercise, at least 30 minutes a day. And keeping a track of food that you're eating too, how often you're eating certain types of foods that are high in sugar and high in calories. And try to be careful of eating foods that are high in energy or high in caloric energy, such as like peanut butter or high fat foods, because they can be very tiny in terms of filament of the stomach, but they can be very heavy in calories. An example is like fast food. Just one meal from a fast food restaurant could be 1,000 calories, which is for some people more than half of what they need for the whole day in one meal. Here was a study published in the National Library of Medicine from James and colleagues. The title is Calorie Restriction for Enhanced Longevity: The Role of Novel Dietary Strategies in the Present Obesogenic Environment. And this study was more in keeping track of people that were restraining the amount of calories they were eating. So if their metabolism was 2,000 calories, they would eat 1,800 calories, meaning they were at a caloric deficit or caloric restriction. And they wanted to see what would happen to the body in terms of just long-term effects. One thing they saw was sustained caloric restriction without malnutrition, meaning not starving yourself, induced physiological changes such as slower aging. Some other things they saw with continuous caloric restriction was reliably lower blood pressures, lower fasting glucose levels, improved blood lipid profiles, and increase in insulin sensitivity, which means that they're more likely to not develop type 2 diabetes. And also in the trial they saw that there was significant improvements in cardiometabolic risk factors, such as the participants ended up having a better body composition, so more fat loss, improved cholesterol and lipid profiles, lower inflammation, and enhanced insulin sensitivity, like I stated previously. Also with caloric restriction, they also led to reductions in systemic inflammation markers, improvement in aerobic capacity, all of which contributed to better overall health. Along with that, prolonged caloric restriction in non-obese adults was achieved without having any mood or effects on the mood, cognitive function, or quality of life. Remember, it's only 12% caloric restriction, so eating, for some people that can be eating 100 calories less in a day and just burning 100 calories more than what their metabolism burns. And from there, they achieved all these benefits. And there was maintained mental health and no increase in disordered eating or excessive hunger, indicating that moderate caloric restriction can be safe and well tolerated over long periods of time. SubhanAllah, the Sunnah is not just about our spiritual growth. It's also about protecting our physical health by following the Prophet, peace be upon him's advice of eating less and leaving space in our stomachs. We can protect ourselves from obesity, heart disease, and so many other modern illnesses. Science today confirms what the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught over 1400 years ago. Moderation is the key to a healthier and longer life. So next time you sit down for a meal, remember this beautiful Sunnah: 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 air. Simple, powerful, and life-changing. If you found this reminder valuable, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content on the wisdom of the Sunnah, and share this with someone who can benefit. Let's revive this practice together and take one step closer to a healthier ummah. Salam.